of A Song of Ice and Fire role-playing, and we dove right into the thick of it. And by the thick of it, I mean, it was a boring day. It was raining outside. We had our thin broth, thin stew. Ooh, happy days here. Glad we get to enjoy our noble highborn privilege. Fucking awesome. And so there we are in our cold, drafty castle, just sitting alone at this damn ominous table that's too fucking massive for anything realistic. And then Maester Cole, the slightly smug, always smiling Maester who tends to the lord of the house, comes in and like, oh, by the way, I was just milling about coming back from like tending to the lord of the house. I went outside, saw these letters. Here you go. Just tossed them at Decim. And Decim's like, oh, great. I love not being bored. Let's open these up and see what's happening. The first one of the letters ended up coming from House Trant of Gallows Grey. His lordship of Gallows Grey willed it that his sons be allowed to visit respite and an errand of courtly interest, which basically was a heads up saying, hey, my bastard children are on the way. And, take that as your will. That was great. And there was a letter from House Wyronwood, which was all mysterious and addressed to the lords and ladies of the prestigious House Caladan. And it was all like shady, which is so typical of the courtly intrigue and plotting and politicking of House Wyronwood, and it inspired us that we want to go to Dorne. And then there was a letter from the lost brother of House Caladan, family member to both Decim as well as the Lord of the House. Apparently, he has by this point likely died. And he has offered a challenge, a quest, to marry off his children, his two daughters, to individuals of noble birth, and give proof to the Iron Bank and Bravos in exchange for gold dragons! Awesome. So we had those things to kick around in ideas. And then the three bastards, legitimized but not officially, not yet, of House Trant, came to visit. We exchanged some pleasantries. Some were more dickish than others. Some were more fearful than others. They were doing their shell game. They heard that House Caladan had some eligible ladies, and House Trant wants to marry off the younger two bastards to those ladies and foster some good relationships and alliance ties between House Caladan and House Trant. Now, somewhere along the way, in an effort to gain more information and better trust, one of the player characters engaged in some intrigue in an attempt to charm one of the bastards, which worked out. And then Decim, the spy master of the house, engaged in a battle of logic, of epic will and destiny with the eldest of the bastards to try to determine more about how they knew about these things that House Caladan just heard of. And it was very intense. It went on for like 6 seconds. And at the end, both people were staggered, barely left standing, almost losing their composure, and Decim completely wrecked that dude's shit. And we learned that House Trent had cast their support with one of the bastards, not seeing them as the rightful king rather than the current rightful king, which is definitely treasonous and could totally be used against House Trant. So Decim can have fun with that knowledge. Provisionally, we haven't made any agreements with House Trant for the time being. We have 3 moons to decide, which is like 3 months. That's plenty of time away. We'll put it off until the last minute. And so while we're thinking about that and preparing to head on our grand expedition to Dorne, that's going to cost us 4 build points because we rolled a d4, it says 4, and all sorts of fun and excitement. We then were visited by a merchant decrying that the Lornemen had stolen his daughter, and the Lornemen had a message for House Caladan that the Lornemen wanted 20 gold dragons in exchange for information that would be of great assistance to House Caladan. Someone was plotting against us, which is like, no shit, really? This isn't a Game of Thrones. Fucking, wow, I can't believe someone's plotting against me. You'd be irrelevant if someone weren't plotting against you. So that's good. It's keeping our reputation up. And the session ended off and carried off into downtime with individuals discussing how we wanted to handle the current state of business. and I believe Team PC thought of an effective means by which they were going to handle this process when we began the session, which should hopefully be now.
Yeah.
Indeed. So, so why don't you guys tell me how do you want to handle the situation?
Go for it, Jonas. Also, I like your death of innocence. I think that says so much.
Thought it was fitting. Well, someone is happy to see it.
I got the reaction that the Black Witch wanted.
Happy to oblige.
I can where do you want to hang it?
I'm not sure. It is creepy. That was the point of it.
We'll make a thing for it.
Where do you find this?
I
don't want to know.
The internet.
So, the plan. I think the plan was that first of all, we are certainly interested in what the Lornemen have to say, because they have not done this before. This is like the first time they've actually approached us in this fashion, and that seems to be either like they're shaking up what they've done for the last 10 years or so, or there is something really bad going on. And if it's something really bad going on, we should at least make an attempt to find out what it is. The problem is, of course, that they said, "Oh, bring us all of that gold." And we don't have the gold. We're a noble house, but there's not a coin in sight. We spent it all on something.
We have literally no wealth that's not invested in something.
Exactly. We invested everything, so everything is like locked up in land and stuff. So we were like, well, what do we do? And then the idea is that we, instead of bringing gold, we bring a few castle forged steel swords to them. Those swords are worth a lot, and they are highly sought after, especially for such cretins as the Lornemen. So the thought is we bring 3 swords or 4. I think 3 would actually make up the amount. Okay.
It would be like 20 gold dragons is equal to like 4.5 castle forged swords.
Okay.
So we're only gonna bring them 3.
We bring them 3 with 1 extra, like to throw in perhaps. To give them 4. These swords are highly valuable. They cannot get it any other way. This is something they want more than gold, I am guessing. And they would be probably even willing to go lower than the gold sum. And that's why I would suggest we can start with 3.
And it's certainly something that House Caladan has in supply, courtesy of the fact that because we have a castle-forged weaponsmith, all of our units are outfitted with castle-forged weapons and armor, including our 100-unit garrison.
Yeah, we that is resources invested, and since we don't have to buy those weapons, he makes them. We basically just have steel, and he makes it into swords. So.
Does your garrison use the typical weapons of sort of a garrison, which is the halberd, or do you give them a special type of weaponry that you would like them to use?
I mean, as a garrison, I would imagine they have at least 2, maybe 3 different weapons. Like if they have a halberd for standard stuff, and then a bow maybe if they're up on the walls and patrolling, and then maybe a short sword or a sword, depending on if they're archers or if they're actually footmen.
You do have archers as well.
Yeah.
You have 100 archers who definitely use long bows, and then you have your engineers and your scouts. Scouts probably using something like short bows and like small swords. They're more for scouting, and the engineers are more for actually like getting stuff done. Yeah. But a garrison generally is house guard, which just uses the standard halberd, pretty standard issue. It's a strong, powerful weapon. It's good for people who do not hit really well, because when they hit, then they can cut you to pieces. It's a pretty fierce weapon. Or just if you had anything special in mind, but
I never gave it any thought.
No.
Then it will be halberds then until you command them to cheat train a new weapon.
Yeah, I spent long enough trying to think of names.
It is the matter of 1 bonus die, so it's not because it's a huge deal.
But yeah,
Right.
that's the plan. That will also allow us to bring a carriage, or like a not a carriage, a wagon, and we can have like a tarp over, and they would be like, oh, that's a wagon coming. It's got to be loaded with something, maybe gold and something else. Oh, how exciting! And that will also allow us to bring a little bit more people than no one, like the merchant wanted, without them hopefully being scared and running away, because the curiosity of the wagon will keep them. That's the thought. They can't expect poor old Desmond to carry all the weapons himself.
And I had some reservations about trying to reason with terrorists. I mean, bandits. It seeming incredibly risky to me. But since Jonas suggested an idea from which he could reasonably attempt an intrigue without perhaps immediately dying, I think it's reasonable enough.
I would like to try.
And,
So, if we in the courtyard here could gather up the little group of people that you plan on sending in, so to speak.
damn it! Now I have to fucking use that map. Did this on purpose. I'd have to fucking load this thing.
Remember your token.
Someone said something about entitlement before. What was it?
Yes, well, I also said last week how I wasn't going to load this thing again, so I've already been proven wrong.
Well, Desmond is coming along. He's the one who's gonna want to talk to them.
Seeing as how it's going to take long enough to gather the weaponry, it's going to work. And Bree is not going to take no for an answer with the unspoken threat, basically, of a petulant child, where if I get left behind, I get on the damn pony after you leave and come after you.
Evren will be next to Bree when she says that she's going to go, because he's definitely going to go as well. And if she gets to go, then he definitely does too.
Desmond will give them both a look of, I am very much prepared to have Sir Alaric knock some sense into you and toss you into a sack in the basement. But he will sort of... He seems to be somewhat preoccupied by other things, so he won't stop you.
Evren has his long sword and his scale mail with a shield with the Knights Caladan Alaric's symbol on it. Haven't really got his own yet.
Right.
I don't know if Lanus want to come along. DDS apparently had to run away from fire alarms.
You know, it's possible that we could execute the alternate idea then, which would be that if Lannis won't come along, then Sir Alaric is, he's not going to, leave, the prospective Lord of the House defenseless. Like, if Halldamir, whenever he finally comes in, he can control his son character, right?
Mm-hmm. If you wanted to hide people in a wagon or something, plop down a guard or two for you. If that's the kind of thing you want to bring. The merchant will sort of say that as few people as possible. Please, my lords, if her virtue is lost, she won't get married easily.
Desmond will give him a look of you will shut up this very instant.
He shuts up. Don't even need to intrigue him to do it.
Yeah,
that's right. It's only at my sufferance that we're even going to fucking save your dog.
Exactly. It's don't push this. Don't.
He's getting annoying.
He is besides himself.
Yeah, and I do recall Dark, from what he wrote in the chat, the initial theme being it's not something that Lannis would want to do, and it's not entirely something that you'd want to risk all of the house's children on, especially not someone as valuable as Lannis. So if he ends up staying behind, then I can't see Sir Alaric not staying by me. This could be a distraction, and then House Fake will come. Especially since Haldamir's not here.
It would be out of character for Lannis to want to go without some extra push.
You know,
Alaric can be told to stay behind with Lannis.
What?
Although he's
No,
very
what are you
big, and
crazy?
Kind
we
of
don't.
doesn't fit on the wagon easily, and
We kind of want him along. I think if it's going to be a fight, I want.
I just don't think it's proper to have the character along whenever Haldamir's not here. If Haldamir joins in, like, while like things go wrong,
it
then he
makes
controls the
sense
sun.
because it's very easy to die. And to some point, you gotta have the person to be there to decide if they want to burn that destiny point or die or whatnot.
I mean, he said earlier today that he would be along, but
Yeah, but he wrote later that
yes,
he'll be late
that
because
could be
of...
at any point in time, Jonas. Like he's noted in the group chat that's going to be at least 45 minutes. You
no,
just won't wait all that time?
I mean that Alaric would be along, right? Or did he change his mind and I didn't see it?
Well, he didn't change it. But he's not here. Haldamir's not here.
I know.
We can bring him along and have him on the just not. Well, I don't know. We'll decide once the actual loadout is.
I agree though. If he ends up dying, it's gonna be really mean.
I just don't think he belongs simply from the mere fact that Dark's character is staying behind. And someone should stay behind to defend Lannis's character, because Dark's character is not coming, and Haldamir is not here. If Halldamir joins, then I think he can control his son just fine.
Yeah, and if Alaric dies, it's kind of mean on our side.
Sure. So you wanted a wagon then?
Hell yeah, we want a wagon.
It makes sense that two people could sit sort of in the front of that,
Shotgun!
driving it, basically. Someone who knows how to handle animals, perhaps, and then to actually drive the damn wagon.
I know nothing
And
about
then
animals.
then the tarp over there could probably hold up to 4 people if they were not like too big.
So not Alaric.
While being hit under like a piece of heavy cloth or linen or something.
I think my character, given her small size and stature, could just hang out and chill in the corner of the wagon.
Sure. She's a child.
How dare you insult her?
You could, of course, bring horses and ride next to the wagon just fine as well.
That's not suspicious.
I mean, we're gonna ride there anyway. Desmond can't walk.
Halfray!
Could be on the wagon then.
Could be on the wagon.
No, he'll be on a horse.
I mean, we're not going to get into a combat situation because you're going to intrigue them successfully, Jonas. So I'm not worried.
Everyone would like to ride a
That's
horse. But
certainly
he
the
doesn't
plan.
own one, so
He doesn't have a horse?
he doesn't own a horse.
Sheepskin
Yeah.
dad.
So,
Because his dad spent all his money on like a full plate. His son doesn't have anything awesome like that.
Yes.
Does he want to use my horse? Because I'm going to sit on the wagon.
He'll accept the offer.
It's a palfrey.
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 So, that's better than him riding my character's pony, I think.
Or a mule.
He would not appreciate the pony.
Or a mule.
Damn people, not a fucking entitled asshole.
You can ride Rosario.
He does have a bit of an ego to uphold.
Of course.
You can ride Rosario. Rosario.
You'll just have to be reminded that the palfrey is not war trained.
Yeah.
Well, Nima will tell him that. You know what? I come from a place where canoe, what you use, so I did not want a war-trained horse, because I'm not going to sit on it when I fight.
I'm not sure anyone standing next to you will understand what the hell that means.
No, I've probably seen a canoe when I was in Bravos
Yes.
at one point.
In like a book once.
Yeah.
Bravos, and she like
There are a lot of water in Bravos.
Does
No
that
horse.
that Obelix thing, they're weird. The Bravosi.
Right.
Tap in my head.
So you will ride your horses.
I'll sit on the wagon.
You can make like your horse tokens for them if you own a horse.
Let's see if I own a horse. I think I do.
You'll get like shitty workhorse.
If people does not have horse tokens, I do.
See, they have Garens, I think, as the sort of a base thing. I could see the castle having a few of those just as like
I do have a horse.
not Garens, maybe Stuts, just like
It's like a shadow horse. That looks weird.
You
Although
want
it's
a
actually
shadow
kind of
horse?
fitting, isn't it?
it's square. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, square horse.
Your horse is boring. How does that make you feel?
Horse is sad.
Don't use square
What type of horse is
Horses
It's
on
a
your
courser.
Courser. All right. That's
I
a
learned-
good horse.
I learned my lesson from last time.
To have a horse that's not super.
That is like very
you
scary.
don't want this horse.
I mean, can I have that horse?
It's blue. It's blue horse gun.
I know.
It's also a nightmare. So
Let's
I
not.
mean,
Okay,
You guys would probably appreciate those not being around.
Okay, do you want a square horse? I can give you one.
No, I mean.
If you do, and if you want it to be a little shadowy, here you go.
The guards you would potentially want to bring certainly don't have horses, meaning that they would have to be in the carriage if they're going to be a decent speed. But it's not going to be a fast trek with a carriage anyway.
Jonas.
Wagon.
I'm trying to, but it's moving around.
Sorry, that's me. Sorry. You just don't work with horses, do you?
I'm actually very good with horses. It's just it's
Okay.
very friendly.
They sit on you.
Yes. So did you want to bring any guards in a wagon?
Yes.
What kind of guards? Your garrison guards or your archers?
I think archers, maybe. We have 3 who.
Possibly be, up to 4 people, though it might be quite cramped at that point.
Does Brian know how? Oh, you're gonna be inside, right?
yes.
Let's hide in the back.
Let's.
Nima is going to hide in the wagon.
She does look suspicious.
It's hard for
certainly
you to
does.
call shotgun while you're
Well,
while you're
it was
sitting in
kind
the corner.
of it was kind of a joke, but doesn't she look kind of suspicious?
She looks different. Yes.
So maybe I should just hide in the back with you and not have shotgun. It's not very often you can say shotgun, and it is actually a real wagon.
To answer the question, considering the differences, I don't think we should bring that many. Maybe like 2 archers, and that would be all the people that I want to bring.
All right.
I don't know, Jonas. Your character is the one who's running the show here.
I'm fine with 2 archers, and then we
Okay.
have 4 people in the back of the wagon.
That's the token you use for Italy.
One of them can drive the wagon.
I hope.
The archers do not know how to drive a wagon.
Oh my god, we need
Who-
someone to drive a
uh,
wagon.
Who
Everett
knows?
could drive a wagon potentially.
Who?
He has some animal handling. Though
All
mostly
right.
riding.
But he
Is there anyone else to drive the wagon?
Could have the merchant
It's
drive
not
the
super hard.
Oh, the merchant,
Merchant
could
can
drive the
certainly
wagon.
do it.
All right, merchant. Guess what? You can drive the wagon.
All right,
That's right.
we'll drive the wagon. He's very
We'll-
versatile with this whole thing, but
See? You know? There we go. Those rangers look. I'm not entirely sure.
they are sort of questioning your decision.
so
They
am
are?
I.
They seem like it, don't they?
Look, they look
Yeah.
kind of like
They look perpetually dubious, like these
Yeah.
noble-born, man.
Like I could shoot him right now if I wanted to. but- All right.
things I see, man. Things I see.
Yes. All right then. You will head out following the merchant's directions. Then I imagine.
I imagine,
Okay.
yes.
All right. He will certainly tell you that it is quite a bit into the forest. It's sort of less traveled areas. There's no real road there, so it's going to be a bumpy ride, so to speak. And who do you sort of tell where you go? Anyone? Just Lanus and
I mean, we tell Lanus and Alaric that we're gonna go out and talk to the bandits, and if we don't come back, assume the fucking worst. Also bring whatever that is.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
The maester will get to know, just so if anything happens, he's the highest ranking person besides the lord of the house, of course.
what?
Yeah, we definitely tell them where we're going, and then we go. Every eye and every ear open. Keep the as we say in Sweden, keep the raven holes open. Which means keeping your eyes open.
Yes, I got the context.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying. There's some. Oh dear! You have completely covered. There we go.
I apologize for covering your horse with a wagon.
Fucking token dance here, Christ. Back in my day, we didn't use miniatures. We just used our imagination.
It was a darker time. Get over there.
But that's the front of the wagon. That's not the back of the wagon.
What?
What? You know how the front of the wagon looks. Someone comes right here to get the halberds out.
Yep.
Where are they at? They're at the front of the wagon. The back of the wagon is tucked up right there in the corner where people just
wish
won't
that-
look.
Yeah, for the purpose of disembarking, yeah.
Yes.
Which means everyone needs to get on to leading.
Sure, you can stay there. I'm not looking for ease out. I trust Jonas's character.
Okay,
to
sure,
have an injury. No, you
let's
can do
trust
whatever
him.
you want.
Bird is going to come to you.
Bird is gonna. Of course, Qualer's gonna come along. He's
Right.
helping out.
Copy this whole train of people.
Yep.
Where's that annoying dude and
Yep.
his girl?
Everyone needs to get on.
Yeah.
We don't have a token for a farmer.
get a
The
farmer
first
token
thing,
for it.
if combat happens, he's going to dive under this wagon so fast, and then he's going to lay down there quivering.
Super.
He doesn't seem to have much of a spine. He probably didn't even fight these bandits when they moved up on him with weapons and highly outnumbering him.
Understandable.
How many bandits did actually attack him? If he
He's not sure, but one of them had like a
Oh my God.
horrible potato sack looking thing over his head and was very big and very scary and had a huge axe. And he was standing on the road and he was just about to ride him down, but then he could hear bowstrings and
Mm-hmm.
then at least 5 men came up and grabbed his daughter and his things, and
Sure.
it was horrible. It's really horrible.
Sure.
Help me, my lord. My lord.
It all happened so fast.
Yeah, as long as he can get home and be safe with his daughter, he'll be very thankful.
If he betrays us, be sure to stab him.
Sure. Well, I don't know where you sit.
I'll kill you all.
He probably sits there, so I'm gonna. If you can look out through here, which sometimes you can, I'll stab him.
So you travel in your own lands. Not that you really come here often for, good reasons. It's obvious reasons. But I will make a new map. Visible. And I will force you here. I have already copied your tokens, so.
Because Manakai is a
It'll
generous
take
god.
too long to copy all of those. Some of the files are a little big. What are your passive awarenesses?
16.
All right,
21.
that's okay.
I think I
21?
lost connection, kind of,
Why do you think so?
because I. Oh, now I can hear you.
I can give you.
But what did you?
I'm just asking for the passive awarenesses of your characters. And I have 16 from Bring and 21 from Mr. Desm. Dark, since you're not here, why don't you gain an archer to you know what? I'll
Sure,
give you
I can
control
control
of
one of the archers.
both archers. You're one now of the archers here.
Oh god, such an honor.
There you go. You can click on them
Sounds
and
good.
see what they can do. They're really not that advanced. They have a hand axe, a longbow, hard leather armor. Done.
No, I will find something to do.
They cannot take wounds or injuries, anything. So
Nope, they will just keel over.
all right.
Horrible amounts of blood.
You get to. Okay. Just to reveal a little more. You can tell me when you're loaded.
Yeah, loading taking time.
It's low. What does it?
Well, I can certainly describe what you see then anyway, because as it is both Brian, what is Nima's awareness, passive awareness?
It 3 plus her fighting, and my fighting is. Damn it! It's 4. There we go.
I believe her passive awareness is also 16, Manikai. She has awareness 3, and so it would be 12 plus 4,
Right.
so 16.
I can't. The call is very bad while it's loading.
I can try to rehost it. Do you think that would help?
I don't think that would help.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I think it's transferring.
All right. Well, you can hear my voice without having it go over the call, though, so that's a great thing. Regardless, all of you would notice as you move through this sort of forested, not too forest. You don't have heavy forest. You sort of light forest going on, which means that there's quite a bit of visibility, really. But you would certainly see in the not too long way, but within a bow shot, there are people moving about and doing things. And the merchant will certainly also mark that perhaps stopping the wagon here and continuing, like it's that way. He doesn't really seem to want to go himself with you to meet these men. He's perfectly happy watching the wagon for you. As he gestures, you can see a number of figures.
So what he's suggesting is that Desmond walks alone into a camp full of bandits.
Or whoever you want to take with him. He doesn't suggest anything. He just doesn't seem to want to get very close himself.
Well,
Who
doesn't give
is
a fuck
hosting the
what
call?
this guy wants and doesn't want. We're gonna go a bit closer.
Maybe someone else should host.
Someone else could host if they want to.
All right,
I do, but
I'll host the fucking call.
all right.
All right, new attempt.
Better?
Yes.
Hello?
Good. If it's better, then good.
It's better.
I finished loading now.
Same here. There we go. That's forest.
Mine,
Where is
mine
he
has it, but
pointing?
mine's loading very, very slowly.
Where is he pointing?
It is this direction where there are people.
Oh, it's loading much faster. Almost.
Then Desmond will move over here and basically wave Everin to come up next to him.
Efren will happily do so.
Does Desmond see anyone?
Sure. And certainly from a little bit of distance, he will hear sort of a loud whistling sound. Very much sounding like the sound of like an arrow in the wind, but not being an arrow. And he will see a few figures. Stepping out of the sort of underbrush.
Okay.
Does-
Loaded. What was it you wanted with our awareness?
Your passive awareness, but I got it at 16.
Okay.
Doesn't remember the name of the headsman. His true name.
That would be a memory. Pretty
Okay.
difficult memory.
We're talking
To
to the character.
remember, if you want to remember anything about him, so to speak. Cunning memory.
This is really nice forest.
All right, you know that his name was Mollum.
Mollum?
Kind of like mutton, but with with L's instead of M.
Was he a knight or just a brute?
The headsman
Yes.
was just hired to be the guy who killed priests because he was willing to do so for money.
So a brute. Okay.
Yes, he was very much not really. I mean, you might have interacted with him. Really, he was a very quiet man. Very. He would do anything for money, basically, and personal gain. They had pretty much no sense of empathy or anything. And as you see him here, you see him with his iconic large headsman's axe, given to him by Lord himself, and his sort of leathery hood over his head, leaving sort of straps of hair sticking out. He's a very big man. Next to him, you see what seems to be certainly a veteran of many battles, an older man in some nice nice armor. Bit of sort of gathered pieces, a few different heraldry colors on him. No one really sticking out. He has a shield that seems to be patched together of many different little sigils that he has simply painted and have had painted on there. He has an eye patch and a beard, as you see, and well, he has a long sword and seems to hold himself with some stature. Around him are people clad in mostly what seems to be a sort of a loose shambling of different armor pieces, though the lawmen you see here seem to be better armored than they have been in the past.
In what way?
They have actual metal armor instead of simple, like mostly they have had hide or hard leather, but these guys have like scale.
What? Scale mail? All of them?
The three you see here. The ones further in, like there's still some some people rustling and stuff. With your awareness, you can see that these are certainly not all that are here. But others are keeping themselves quiet and down, probably hoping not to be noticed, or have been noticed by you.
Do our soldiers have scale mail? Like
your archers do not have scale mail. They wear hard leather armor.
But
Your normal soldiers most certainly do. Your normal sort of garrison, melee troops.
we need to look over when we come home. If we come home, we need to look over some supplies here. Do we have scale mails missing? Where the fuck did these creatures get the money for this
Jonas,
shit?
I think it's more practical that someone's outfitting them.
Maybe. Peek.
The knight steps forward, seeming to be further forward than others with his shield, and the headsman stands back a little bit, glowering, looking at you, not saying much, man, a few words. The knight will sort of bow slightly.
What do I know of the knight?
You don't know too much. He was not here when Lauren actually lived. He has come to at a later point. He has a bit of a reputation as a well. The stories go that he has been serving many a lord and gone many places as a hedge knight. He is a man of a strange type of honor. Some stories saying that he will happily betray anyone. Others saying that he's utterly dedicated to his cause of sort of an honorly, outlawish, take from the rich, give to the poor sort of ideals. He is a man that seems to be well, it's very hard to know the truth because there's so many different sort of contradicting stories about him. Perhaps some has been spread by himself or his comrades. Who knows? He has not been here for that long. His name is Huther.
Right. Well, Desem will sit on his horse. He will look at them. And I'll take a few tentative steps forward with the horse, keeping his eyes on them, and then he will wait for a second, see if they do anything, like move towards him or.
Huther begins to trek with two other people moving out from the brush, who seem to again be decently well armored. They're using sort of long halberds with them. Very normally, lawmen would use hand axes, woodsman's axes, hunting bows, that
What
sort of
the
thing.
fuck is going on with these bandits? These aren't bandits anymore. This is like a proper army force, equipment-wise.
Here, sort of looking at you. And they stop, waiting for you to perhaps approach them as well.
Doesn't trots forward a bit.
Everin trudge with you
Yeah, he should.
at your side.
Stands underneath the tree here, looks at them, and says, "We got your message, and here we are."
Yeah. Looks up at you. Says, "My lord would not honor me to speak to me on an eye level."
Looks at him. No.
He looks slightly wounded, but keeps a stern face. Says, "Very well then. We have what was asked. The girl is unharmed, and the sort of seems to think a little about how to phrase it. The sacks can be brought to you once we have what we asked for."
In the message the merchant delivered, he claimed that you had information of some sort of plot against House Caladan.
Bartlett, as we do, we have intercepted these agents, and, well, they had quite a bit with them. He gestures to the people behind him. We have taken the liberty of liberating some of the assets. There
I
were,
can see-
however, also things that you would potentially be interested in, and as much as we loathe the tolerance for disobedience, as the House Caladan now allows, we could not stand by while another house were to such break the sacred bonds of nobility and land ownership.
Looks
It's gonna be good for
over
us and for you.
looks over the bandits, looks over to the headsman, looks back to Huthor and says, "Do not presume to speak of me of things I loathe, Sir Huthor, but it is an intriguing thing you have brought before us. I am attentive to what you are saying. We have also brought what you asked for. The payment is not in gold, but perhaps something that you will value even higher, if the information is solid, that is."
And says, "Well, as it turns out, in the meantime, between you getting here, we were able to squeeze a little more out of our, well, they have expired now, but they're at that point captives. This was not part of the original deal, of course, and if my lord's wishes this extra bit of information, surely my lord's brought a little more than we agreed upon as well."
May I see the bodies?
As they are horribly burned, my lord. I would not inflict that upon you.
Looks down at him. "And how do I know that any of this information that you claim to have is actually proper information? If the bodies are burned, then you are certainly covering up your tracks."
I'm sure my lord can look at the information and see that it is not something we could simply have fabricated.
Very well, let's see it then.
Yes, yes, and we shall see the payment.
He looks down at him, and the girl.
Says she will be given over at the end of this. You can
Let's
trust my
see.
honor. It's a knight.
Let's see if I can trust him.
Awareness, empathy. Is that what you're thinking?
Which one is it?
Awareness.
Awareness, empathy.
All right. Well, you certainly would see that he seems to have something about the girl he's not saying, but the overall, I mean, she's probably alive.
She's not, but she has been, well, damaged, so to speak.
Bow slightly, and then he will take a few steps back and begin to walk back, hastening his step, not enjoying having his back to you as he begins to go back, presumably to gather the evidence while you go gather the payment.
Yep. Desmond will motion to Everin to go and get the 3 halberds or 3 castle forged weapons from the wagon.
Another ugly man dives close, carrying a longbow, glaring out at you. He seems to be instructing Uther while the headsman looks on, giving him sort of a sack of things.
Yeah, Desmond will have the facial expression of like a stone statue. He's just unmoving, watching everything, committing as much of this as he can to memory.
We'll grab the 3 castle forged swords. And it also shrug back.
As he comes back, what's in the sacks? Like, is it like heads, or is it gold, or like what?
They seem to be sort of from the shape. You mean?
Yeah, from the sound
they're sort of big, basically like potato sacks. There's some clattering and some movement. You're not really entirely sure. It's very hard to see from this. It seems to be an assortment of various pieces of cloth and equipment. It doesn't seem to be too heavy because he's carrying it in one hand. Yeah. And he will sort of smile at you and says, "My lord will have to come a little closer if he wants to have a look." He sort of tucks his hand down and says, "Perhaps one to show me, lord, that we have good faith." I'll step up close to the horse. And he will grab something from the sack and move it up. It appears to be a brown surcoat. It's splattered with some blood on it. He offers it to you.
All right. Desmond nods slowly, and he takes up the surcoat.
On it, there appears to be sort of a blood-splattered straw of wheat, which Desmond would easily understand is the sigil of House Selmy.
Selmy, huh? He will frown, looking down at this. Does the surcoat seem to be fresh or old?
The blood seems to be fresh.
He looks down at Uther and says, "Well, this is certainly very interesting. I would wish to hear more specifically about these people. Then he sort of motions to Everin to come a little closer with the sword sort of tucked in.
He does.
Cloth.
The swords are sort of rolled in leather.
He says, "We have decided that if it is indeed so that the Lornemen have have gathered some of its wits about them and have decided to perhaps, he sort of smiles towards Huther, protect the land as they claim. Then a suitable reward for such work should indeed be paid. He smiles. We have decided to reward you something that you will no doubt find much more interesting than mere gold. We offer you no less than 3 swords from our castles forged to be handed to the leaders. He nods towards Huther. One of them, no doubt, you, Sir Huther.
Yeah,
I trust
nods,
this is suitable payment.
nods towards his retainer. Who moves closer? Everyone looks
Well-
to you for confirmation if you can drop them. or-
No, he'll do similar to what Huther did with the sack, just unfurl the leather so he can show that these are indeed castle forged swords.
Looks up and says, it seems to be in order. I believe that would be an acceptable payment for the information.
And the girl.
Someone says, her as well, I should think.
Well, bring her out then.
Slightly. Nod. Step back a little. Look back. One of the Lornemen will bring out a small, sort of probably like 16, 17-year-old girl. She has a sort of bag over her head and is bound on her hands. She's barefoot and has a bit of a gown that seems to have been somewhat shredded. She is pushed forward a little bit for her to stumble towards the sort of meeting area.
Mm-hmm.
Go slowly. Someone says, that's half of ours. Now you give us yours and we'll give you the sack.
Desmond nods. Motions to Everin to do as asked.
He drops the bag. The retainer picks it up and steps back a little bit. Huther puts the back he has on the ground and then steps back from it.
Yep. Desmond motions Elrin to pick up the bag.
We'll step down from the horse, pick up the bag, go back and mount while the girl sort of stumbles past them. She's pushed towards you.
Yeah, Everin will pick her up on the horse.
Little
no doubt.
Bound says, on behalf of the headsman, then, it's been a pleasure doing business with you, my lords. Perhaps in the future we can do more similar things, although my lord, I'm sure, would appreciate some gold at some point. It gleams so nicely to his eyes.
Desmond has a slight smile and says, "It shall be at the forefront of my thoughts. You can be sure of that, Sir Huther. Now, I am, however, a bit curious how you managed to get a hold of this." Sort of pats on the sack, and exactly what information you pried out of these men. Surely, after such,
I'll hold most of it. I must admit, I personally did not catch them. That was my associate. However, they were quite happy to admit to their devious acts of having allied with another house to bring upon the fall of the Lord and heir of House Caladan. A travesty, although similar things have happened in the past. My good headsman thought that it would be an unfortunate circumstance if it was to happen again and so many new recruits would come from the keep that we could not keep them in the camps. We are a bit overstocked with people already. You should smile. The land simply does not support so many of our kind.
we'll be sure to rectify that at some point, I'm sure.
Which reminds me, perhaps, my lord, I would consider, you paid us in steel this time, But if gold was to come to our hands from Milord's keep, then perhaps no raiding would be needed to be done for a moon or two. Yes, we need to eat, the patriots we are, but that need not be done from linens or so, paid by the people. Lord could certainly pay it instead. Bit of a tribute to keep the land safe.
Decim looks at him.
Protection for the weak, so to speak. Perhaps could even take out our guard wages, since not as many would be needed if we patrolled the land. My lord the headsman has so often wanted a forest of valor, a manor where he could live out his old days.
Just keeps looking at him. He's not blinking at this point, but you know the intent is certainly clear. That if Decim had a way, he would rather burn the entire countryside than acquiesce to these demands. He looks at him and says, "I believe we are done here then."
And says, yes, have a pleasant day. I'm sure we will see more of each other at some point.
Decim looks at him. You better hope we do not, Sir Huthor. I expect that, well, a lot of us wouldn't survive the next encounter.
The smile and bound says, do not worry. I'm sure something could be worked out. I wouldn't want you to be afraid.
Decim looks down at me.
I appear to Knight
Afraid? I've had enough of your insults, Hedge Knight. Now scuttle back to your pathetic lord and tell him that one day House Caladan will come for him, and when it does, it will be a reckoning like he would not even imagine. We will bring such fury upon you pathetic cretins out here as can be imagined by the gods themselves. He looks to everyone. We are done here.
Do
We
you
leave.
want to intimidate?
Sure.
Sounds like you're trying to intimidate.
I can intimidate.
That'd be a persuasion intimidate.
Let's roll. To get a bonus from the Raven. He's looking at as well.
He's not afraid of the Raven.
What? Inconceivable. Well, fuck you, buddy. How about that?
But he does shut up.
Yeah.
And glare slightly as he turns with his men. He flips his sort of ruined blue cape that flutters in the wind. She hurriedly walks back.
Perhaps if you're actually serving a proper lord and actually did your knightly duties, you could even afford a new cape.
The pale, dirty-haired man is glaring at him the entire time as they walk to quickly begin to melt into the landscape.
We leave this place.
Everyone sort of stalls a little bit, as if he wants to charge them, but does as he's told.
It's not a district.
And that was the day we told Halldamir when he came into the session that his son was dead.
Just saying, if he had charged him, he'd run into a really big problem. The horse isn't war trained.
No, I know. That horse would have charged the other way.
It will run over there, but if it feels in danger,
It would turn around and just run.
it will probably be killed without too much problem.
And then he
Right.
owes me a new horse.
I don't think that would be on his list of great
Yeah,
problems.
we turned this wagon around and we get out of here.
Bring his cloak around her, and she's very quiet with very tired eyes as he just talks her, pats her back and such. And you can certainly return. I'll just hide this map. Not really anything beyond that happened. To the castle respite. Let's go there. Let's go place to be. I should return a few less swords in your armory, and with a sack of who knows. The merchant does not ask to stay. He asks, actually, now that his daughter's here, he would like to just leave these lands. He doesn't
Yes,
have any
yes.
wares anymore.
Yes.
He will then hurriedly leave.
Run to wherever he wants to run, I suppose.
I believe he said when you met him that his daughter was going to be married at Ashford
Mm-hmm.
to a fisherman's son.
Good luck to them. Well, to the council chamber. Let's look in the sack. Council chamber sack time.
Of which I furnished.
Furnished, you say?
Is said that there's no.
No, Decim will, before
Sure.
he leaves, he will pat the boy on the shoulder and say that he did well, and that his father will be proud of him. Kept his cool, he acted all knightly and stuff. Well done.
Well, it raises him up a little bit, but he still seemed to have hoped for combat. He is so far untested in real battle, and that's something that makes him wince whenever that is mentioned. He feels like he's too old to be untested.
He's right. He is. My character understands.
We just don't speak too much. Of
He
it.
generally
It's very
doesn't.
embarrassing. Very embarrassing.
I wish it would have been.
Do you wish Mr. Cole to
Yes.
join you? Certainly
Yes.
sent for him. Lord Aaron.
Also, send for Galt.
Cole too.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, he's not used to being called to meetings, but
This is a matter of dire import, then.
where would he even sit?
Destin will motion to one of the seats, like basically down here.
You can probably leave that one
Sit
open
there.
for, the lord of the house, should,
Should he attend for some
Mr.
reason?
Cole will advise that he's not summoned, but he is
No,
awake
of course
and
not.
could partake if the matter is of such an import that the lord of the house should know. Then
There's no
We can
need.
debrief the Lord.
There's no need for this currently. Destin will have, he will look like murder as he puts the sack in front of him. He will basically explain quickly to the rest of the group what happened. And he will look specifically over to Galt and say that I would also wish, Galt, that you take a good look through our stocks and our armories to see that we are not actually missing any armor. Most likely the bandits took most of the armor I saw from the patrol or whatever they was they actually ambushed, but it doesn't hurt to be sure.
he will nod. Should command me, lord. It'll take some time, but I should be able to do it in a few days.
Good.
Old gods and such.
Good. Destin will then open up the sack and start pulling out all the wonderful treasures that we bought.
All right. The first thing you see is certainly 3 of the brown circuits. That is a total of 3.